show number 42, highlight edition, with our special guest, Sylvain Gentile. I said it right?
Got it.
Yeah, if you listen to the full show, you'll hear me say it wrong all the time.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and so, again, with the highlight edition, we are just going quickly over some of the main topics of the show. Gonna head out and get the full show, where you get a lot more. You get to see his amazing photos, and we discuss a lot of those photos, one at a time and go over them. But we want to quickly give you a highlights edition. And the first thing we started the show off with was something personal to me, is the back button focus. If you've listened to the Facebook group, there's a lot of articles floating around the website on back button focus, using a button on the back of the camera to focus rather than the shutter button. And on some Nikons, maybe all Nikons, DSLRs, with vibration reduction lenses, that back button may not, and it probably does not, engage the VR on that lens. So if you're using the VR turned on and the back button focus, what could be happening as you're focusing, then as you go to press the shutter, release, you are at that point engaging the vibration reduction, and that could be introducing some image problems with your photo, where maybe it's still spinning up, or it hasn't settled down, and that could come back with not a sharp image. Personally, I turned it off, did a shoot with the back button focus off, used a regular shutter button, and I was extremely pleased with my results. So give that a try if you're shooting Nikon with a VR lens. Test it out and see if it's happening for you. Now, Sylvain, one of the things we talked about is, a lot of people want to develop a style, and it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that takes some time to develop, and then fighting a style versus being stagnated and all your photos looking alike. As we went through your photos, I did see a style, but I definitely did not see a stagnated look. And how are you able to achieve both of those?
Developing a style definitely takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's a matter of getting comfortable with a certain, whether it be a certain lighting setup, or wherever your location's at, just being comfortable with, how you want to shoot, achieving those desired results. And but like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. It took me a number of years to really get to where I had that kind of consistency of like you said, that certain look. So I mean, it's you got to keep practicing and keep shooting. The more you shoot, the more you're going to realize that you're comfortable in different lighting situations versus other lighting situations, and be able to get the images that you want.
And how do you remain creative and not get stagnated
with all the images looking alike?
Yeah.
As we mentioned before in the other show, it's changing your focal length, using different lenses, different compositions,
different venues.
Yeah, different venues. Just keeping it fresh and different. But using all the tools that you have in your bag. If you have different lenses, you're shooting with a 70 to 200 versus then you grab your 14 to 24 or 24 to 70, and it's going to be a completely different look.
The other thing I noticed with your photos is the lighting is, your composition's almost always great. I mean, always great. I didn't see that we're not. But your lighting is dramatic. Your lighting is what, for me, makes the photo. The lighting is just fantastic in your shots. And that doesn't mean it's always an even light. One of the things I always make a mistake with in Lightroom is trying to not have any blown out highlights and not have any shadows that go completely black. But as I looked at some of your photos, and if you go to the full show, you'll see a bride and groom walking down a street with the sun, and you're looking at their backs. The sun is toward them, so toward you as a shooter, and the behind them kind of blows out. Now you have some trees which still have some details, but that blowing out some of the highlights is not always a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I wanted to mention before, I don't think I did during the other show. As long as those highlights aren't blowing out the subject's face, their skin, when it's the sky, that's all good. That's fine. That adds to the, making the photo more dramatic. That's just, if that's the look you're going for, then that's what you got to do. You don't need to worry about, in your post production, bringing, the recovery slider or trying to bring back those highlights and and worrying about that. But I mean, if you want to actually have detail out there, then you need to, I think, light it differently. Shoot with a strobe, shoot with a flash. Try to get your background darker, as opposed to, you can choose one or the other. It's going to be a completely different photo.
Yeah. So watch the full show, and you'll see the image we're talking about, where the blown out of the highlights really adds to the shot. And in this one, it wasn't just you had some where the sun was coming like over the shoulder and it blew out the shoulder. This was a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more blown out, but it still had detail where you wanted to have detail, and just a fantastic shot.
Right.
So, Sylvain, thank you again for coming out. We had a great show. I really enjoyed and really enjoyed talking to you and going through your photos, and really makes me want to get out and shoot and do some stuff there.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
No, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for coming. And with that, we'll end the highlight edition. All right. Since a lot of times clients so the show's actually, I'm sorry. Yeah, the show's actually open. So let's take Jerry's last question, and then we'll let you go, if you don't mind, Sylvain.
Sure.
So since a lot of times clients are following trends, do you always follow trends, or just stay with what works? In other words, do you shoot for what the client wants or what you want? Yeah, that is. I wish I'd have got that in a regular show, because that is a great question that I bet you, especially photographers who are just starting off, maybe don't have their style, but even ones that are established, your client wants to push you in a direction that you may not be wanting to go. How do you deal with that?
I mean, I can make it pretty clear, during the initial consultation. They already have an idea of my style. They've seen my images on my blog. They've seen the images on my website. I'm showing them images in person. So I mean, they're hiring me, for what they've seen. They already have an idea of how I shoot. So for the most part, I mean, I don't really have a lot of clients that try to, push me to, say, oh, we want all these sepia tone images, or we want all these, classic black and white images. It's they're hiring me, so they're usually good with what my style already is. But like you said with new photographers, trying to jump on a trend, and they see other photographers who are successful, and they're doing a certain way, and as you develop your style, you're going to look to other photographers. Mm-hmm. You're going to see something that you like, and if it's something you like and you resonate with, then I think you should go for it. That's how you like to shoot. Even if it's a trend, I mean, say I mean, this isn't really me, but it's if they wanted to do all black and whites, I mean, go for it. Whatever the trend is that they want to follow. But you should still do your own. You should still do your own thing. You should still do something. You're not gonna jump out to the world unless you are you. There's a million people that want to follow some famous photographer, but you know what? You're going to stand out if you do something different. So I'd stay away from the trends.
Yeah, eventually you got to develop your own style. I'm sure there's a lot of gray areas, and it's not always that a simple yes or no answer.
Right.
And ultimately, you want to be proud. You want your photos represent you.
Exactly.
So yeah. I'm sure that there's times there's a gray area, and it's not quite that easy of an answer, but you still want to. You want it to be something you're wanting to put on your website to represent you.
Right.
Would that be a good way to put it?
That's That's a good way of saying it.
Okay.
It's just a matter of like I said, you're not gonna stand out to the world if you're following someone else. You're gonna stand out if you're doing something different.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, thank you for taking that last question even after the show. Jerry, thank you for asking a great question, and thank you for coming out. And I'm going to go ahead and end the live broadcast. And Jerry, and whoever else is still out there, hope to see y'all next week. Good night, everybody.